So many people starting this video may be thinking, great, another guy selling his program, another get-rich-quick scheme. But let me tell you, I'm none of those things. Let me run some numbers by you. 42 million people, or 0.8% of the population, are millionaires. They control 42% of the world's wealth. According to a Fidelity poll, 88% of them are self-made, meaning they inherited less than 10% of their wealth. That makes them a millionaire. So where did that wealth come from? The answer is they built it up over time. We're going to simplify the numbers just for simplicity's sake, because what's important is not the specific numbers that we're using here, but the mathematical concepts behind real estate investing. All right, so we've finally done it. We've finally saved enough money to get our first deal. So let's lay down some ground rules. During this 10 years, every single deal that we're going to buy is going to follow these strategies in this template.
Can I build a house on electric company? Well, no, Michael, that's stupid as hell. Second off, what are you gonna buy a house with your crumpled up $7 over there?
First of all, we're going to buy ugly houses. By ugly houses, I mean houses that need some light cosmetic work. The purchase price of the home plus the renovations will equal about 80% of the market value. When we do this is going to boost our net worth by that 20% delta. The average home price in Seattle is just under $400,000. So let's say that we're able to purchase and rehab the house for $320,000. The change in our net worth is $80,000 just for buying the property below market value. This can be accomplished through something called an FHA 203K loan, where they will give you a loan on the rehab costs. We'll use an FHA loan to get into a fourplex with 3.5% down, and we'll have the seller cover closing costs, which range between 2 to 5% of the purchase price, depending on your credit. We will assume an appreciation rate of 3% per year. You could have more appreciation depending on your region. For example, in a tech city or somewhere that's booming, it could be above the national average of 3%, whereas, in the middle of Oklahoma or some rural area, it could be much less than 3%. For our interest rate, we're going to assume a 4.5% interest rate because our credit is not quite established yet. This is going to bring our payment to about $1,621.39 according to my mortgage calculator. This is our largest expense. So let's head over to our expense calculator and we'll see kind of how this is going to work out as far as the expenses. For this first example, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what's under the hood as far as expenses and cash flow. But for the next examples, you'll see that it doesn't really matter, and we'll just do $200 per door for every property that you buy. If you look over here for our expenses, we've got things like our mortgage, taxes, insurance, and private mortgage insurance, which is basically an insurance that insures the lender when you take out a loan with a small down payment. So we've got about 1% for PMI and then 0.025% for just the insurance on the home. Vacancy, we're going to throw in about 5% of gross rents just because someone may move in and out of the property, and that just kind of insulates you from any drop in cash flow, just having that vacancy listed as an expense, a monthly expense. So 5% of our gross rents there. Water, garbage, gas, electricity, all that stuff, I'm just kind of pulling from my own data. Property management. If we don't want to manage this property ourselves, what we're going to need to eventually do is account for about 11 to 8%. I put 11% of gross rents to pay a property manager to manage this property. Moving down here, it's recommended that you put between 1 to 3% of your home's value aside for repairs and maintenance. So we've got 1% down here. Where a lot of landlords get screwed over is they do not account for these expenses that pop up as a monthly expense. So what we do down here is we go over to something like, let's say, plumbing. All right, let's say that you talk to Mr. Plumber and Mr. Plumber tells you it's gonna last 1 year and it's gonna cost you $12 to replace, right? So what do? I go over here, I put in $1 as the monthly expense for plumbing. I can put that in and I know that even when this plumbing goes out, I'm still gonna have cash flow. But what we're doing here is just a lot more simple. We're just gonna take 1% of the value of the home and we're just gonna put that aside as a monthly expense, and we're gonna keep it moving. All right, boom. House hacking, start where you live. This is what your numbers are gonna look like when you first start out. These are all the bills. In our first year, it starts very slow. We've got $5,000 in principal pay down. We've got $7,200 in cash on hand. Our property has gone up by $13,200 in value, which brings our equity to $154,200. After year one, we've pushed our net worth to $161,200. So years 2 and 3 are going to be very much like year one. We're increasing our equity in the property, we're increasing our cash position, and we're increasing our net worth through appreciation. Once we get here to year 4, we've basically replaced our cash position that we started with in year 1. So what are we going to do with that? No, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to go do the same deal over again. And now you'll see how quickly this starts to snowball. In year 4, what you're going to do is you're going to move out of your room in the fourplex, and now you're going to rent your room for about $1,255. This is going to be offset by about 11% in gross rents to hire a property manager. So now your cash flow looks like this: $600 for those 3 doors, $1,255 for your old room, minus $420. Bringing your cash flow to $1,435 for this old property. The next property that you're buying is going to have an identical cash flow to the fourplex that you just bought, so $7,200, bringing your total cash flow position to $17,220 annually. We're going to see another huge bump in our net worth when we're able to buy another below market value real estate deal. So at the end of year 4, we've got a net worth of $352,600. Our cash on hand is $2,200. And we're just going to keep on saving for our next real estate deal. Years 5 and 6, you're going to continue to save for that next real estate deal. And at the end of year 6, what you're going to do is you're going to trade up to an apartment building. So by year 6, you've accumulated a net worth of $477,000 and a cash position of $36,640. In year 6, what we're going to do is take this $477,000 and we're going to do a tax-deferred 1031 exchange. We're going to put down 20% or $360,000 on a $2 million apartment, 12-door apartment, $200 cash flow per door. We're going to buy it under market value for $1.8 million. We spend 4% of the value to get forced appreciation of 10% as before. This brings the value of the property up to $2.2 million. Once again, you're able to convince the seller to cover most of the closing costs. Once you make that purchase, this is what your net worth is going to look like after year 6. We're getting closer to that million, and we're not even close to 10 years. After year 6, we made it to $797,000 of net worth, and as you can see, this is not actually going to take us 10 years to get to $1 million using this strategy. Through years 7 and 8, we're just going to continue to save up for our next deal, which is going to be a $5 million 24-unit apartment building. And without boring you with all the numbers, here's what our numbers look like after year 7. You can see it starting to compound. We're almost past $1 million. And then in year 8 right here, we pass $1 million. But just for fun, let's see how far we can go with this. Let's see what happens if we do go to year 10. Same rules as before. Purchased and rehabbed for 20% below market value, $200 cash flow per door, 10% forced depreciation through rehab with 4% of the property value. This is what your numbers would look like after year 9 is over, and this is what your numbers will look like after year 10 is over. So we were able to increase our net worth by $1 million between year 0 and year 8, but we were also able to increase our net worth by $1 million between years 8 and year 10. That's the magic of compound interest. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I really hope this helped you guys out in your home purchasing decisions. Before you go, please do comment down below. It really helps the video get spread. Hope to see some of you guys in the millionaire circle soon, and I'll see you guys in the next video.